So, good morning. How is everybody? It's going to be warm out there. So, we're ready to get started here. We're going to have a short program today, but it contains some beautiful, uplifting content on a realized person, and I think you'll enjoy. So, we should all realize by now that there is only the self, and the world is a dream, or as I've been saying, illusory. Although our purpose in life is to come to this understanding, and there's a lot of purposes in life, there is nothing that we can do about it. There is nothing we can do to accomplish this. Since there are not any bodies or people, then there is no one here in this illusion who can do something to accomplish this end, because we are not here. It's an illusion. The aim, or the game, is to realize the truth in the mind, which, as may be remembered, exists outside of time and space. And when we realize the truth and become it, we become realized, or enlightened. We have to approach advancement or enlightenment from another avenue from the one we have been on, since it hasn't worked for the vast majority of people throughout this supposed history. That is, few people ever attain enlightenment. To do so, we have to get into our right mind. And being in our right mind leads to forgiveness, which is a primary vehicle towards enlightenment. There are certainly a few, if not quite a few, who have become enlightened. But what do we mean by this? And how would we even know if we bumped into someone who is enlightened? There are some indicators, but only indicators, of what someone who is enlightened would be like. For instance, an enlightened person is always light. Light in the sense of being joyful, of carrying no burdens concerning anything that would detract from the present moment. Light in the sense of being able to clarify and illuminate the most pressing problems in life. The eyes of an enlightened one, henceforth known as a jnani, J-N-A-N-I, seem to literally emit awareness, and they penetrate to the depths of one's soul, but with infinite compassion. This person is able to light another's ignorance and is a beacon to all, lighting the way to truth. Now, the expression, "you are out of your mind," should henceforth be viewed as a compliment. Here's why. Other than the above traits I just gave to help us get a clue that someone is more advanced, if we still have a mind, then we cannot, with full knowledge, discern who is enlightened and who is not. In other words, who is a jnani and who is not. A jnani, or enlightened one, cannot be identified by his words or actions, as these are mind judgments. A jnani can identify another jnani, in other words, an enlightened person can identify another enlightened person, because neither of them have a mind. They are beyond the confines of the mind. A very advanced devotee who temporarily loses his or her mind can identify an enlightened one, but only when out of his mind. Ultimately, the difference between a realized person and an unrealized person is that the unrealized person sees a difference. That's brilliant. Ordinary people live in the illusory world via our senses. We see, we hear, we taste, we touch, we feel, and we believe that is real. Therefore, or ergo, it must be real, because I'm seeing it. That's most of us. But the person who has turned away from the senses and shaken off the sleep of avidya, or ignorance, is completely awake. The world of transience and appearance is but a shadow to that person, since it is a state of ignorance. And we, all of us, are mired in this state. The jnani, or master, moves among us but is unaffected by external events, remaining calm when others are moved to extremes of joy or misery. And it's not that they have no emotions or feelings, but rather that they are constantly living in a state of bliss. So why would they detract themselves from that state of beingness for the temporary pleasure of happiness? This person has full awareness of the nature of things, but no longer identifies with any aspect of the illusion, even though all appears as before. He still sees the duality of everything and continues to use the same words, the same naming conventions everyone else uses, but is no longer taken in or consumed by any of it. He is like the witness of the illusion to whom the trick has been explained, out of time, out of space, out of context, yet still living amongst us for a while. There is still thinking, functioning of the body, the playing of roles and so on, but he knows he is not doing any of these things since there is no longer an ego associated with him. Remember, the body is the domain of the ego. The physical body is the domain of the ego and acts out or does what the ego demands because we have chosen to follow the ego unknowingly, unconsciously. But the enlightened one understands that he is not the ego, not the body, but the background reality upon which this illusion and all the seeming appearances take place. This person still dreams because the mind is part of the illusion, and while here, he is in the illusion, although not of the illusion. Dreams occur because it is what the mind does to bring up superficial concerns and ideas, whether awake or asleep. The realized person knows this and does not identify with the process. He knows he is not dreaming ever again, and hence there is no dream ego, only the dream state of mind, and we are all in the dream state of mind. Let me offer this quote from Gene Klein. You are perfect. Uncover the person who feels something is missing, and what remains is perfection. Leave the mind and body free to be what they are, and you will no longer be their slave. Basically, the sage no longer has perceived limitations. The sage no longer perceives, as perception is replaced with knowledge. He knows he is not the body or mind. He knows he does not act or suffer or enjoy, that he does not die, and so on. Only the body acts and suffers and enjoys and dies. Only the body and the mind can do that. He knows he is not that. He is neither of them. The functions of what is perceived by us pertaining to the sage continue as before, but the sage knows he is merely the witness to all of this. It all happens without his involvement. All appears as a play. All is perfect in his life, despite what occurs around him, just the same as what occurs around us, but we don't look at it as perfect. Nothing needs to be changed or can be changed in his way of thinking, because he's not thinking. There is no ignorance, no misapprehension, and no adhyasa, or projecting outwardly of misperceptions. All of his previous misunderstandings are now sublated, and he now has direct knowledge of reality, not as an object, as there are none, but as his own essence. There is still deep sleep, but he does not sleep. Sleep is only for the body, the ego's domain. The sage still sees it all, the appearances, but with different eyes. He's no longer deceived. I knew a man, Bojangles, no, kidding. I knew a man, Dr. David Hawkins, who lived in a state of continual divine communication, in which the world he was in was radically different than the world we are all in, even though he was standing 15 feet away from us. He was known for his spontaneous laughter, coming from seemingly nowhere and without provocation. It was so infectious that all of us 1,000 or so students in the audience would begin to chuckle and then laugh right alongside him for reasons we had no idea of. But here we were laughing because he was laughing. He would then run his fingers through his whiskers, like this, and he'd say, I wondered as I was walking in here today if the body would leave. I never know, because it's not who I am. He was different from you and I, but that was only because I saw a difference. He never did. Now let me give you a quote from someone that I have spoken to about in the past. He was a guru, a sage, a jnani, a realized man, an enlightened being who lived as a contemporary of ours. This is Nisargadatta, and this is what he spoke. Your world is transient, changeful. My world is perfect, changeless. You can tell me what you like about your world. I shall listen carefully, even with interest. Yet not for a moment shall I forget that your world is not, and that you are dreaming. In mine, the words and their content have no meaning. In your world, nothing stays. In mine, nothing changes. My world is real, while your world is made of dreams. My world has no characteristics by which it can be identified. You can say nothing about it. My silence sings. My emptiness is full. I lack nothing. In your world, I appear to have a name and a shape, displaying consciousness and movement. In mine, I have beingness only, nothing else. I am my world. My world is myself. It is complete and perfect. I need nothing, not even myself. For myself I cannot lose. In your world, I would be most miserable to wake up, to eat, to talk, to sleep again. What a bother. End of quote. His state of realization, which is really not a state, is undefinable, is characterized by a total lack of desire or fear. Desire and fear can exist only where there's an ego that feels limited and desires to feel the perceived emptiness and threats. Although damage to the body, even a master's body, can occur, he rests in the knowledge that I cannot be hurt. Just as Yeshua on the cross knew that. Once realized, there is no going back. The ego is forever gone. It is known never to have existed. Once again, Nisargadatta said, once you have awakened into reality, you stay in it. A child does not return to the womb. I will have more next time. Until then, enjoy this fantastic day we have. Thank you.